I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice News headlines. The White House and the Kremlin have signaled that President Trump will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the coming days, but no timeline has been set. Trump stated yesterday that Putin would like to meet with him, and Trump will do whatever he can to stop the killing. Trump is also denying a Politico report that indicated that he would require Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to meet as a precondition to Trump's meeting with Putin. The deadline for a ceasefire between the two nations expires today. And in other news, a judge has temporarily halted construction at the Alligator Alcatraz Illegal Alien Detention Center. The judge ordered the 2-week halt as she deliberates whether environmental laws were violated. Alligator Alcatraz was quickly built 2 months ago on a little-used runway training center. It reportedly holds up to 3,000 illegal aliens. The Miccosukee tribe claimed the detention center could threaten the wetlands in the area that are homes to protected animals and plants. Meanwhile, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, says the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is adding more aid sites. Huckabee says the new plan is to have up to 16 aid sites that could be operating 24 hours per day to get more people food to the people efficiently. The U.S. and other countries are reportedly planning to spend $1 billion to fund this expansion. The GHF has already reportedly delivered nearly 110 million meals to the people of Gaza. This group is backed by both the Israeli and American governments. And Disney and Lucasfilm announced a settlement with actress Gina Carano. Carano claims she was fired from the Star Wars show The Mandalorian for expressing conservative views on social media in 2021. Lucasfilm said they hope to find opportunities to work with Carano again in the near future and that she was respected by directors and the crew. A judge still needs to sign off on the settlement to formally dismiss the case. It was set to go to trial in Los Angeles next February. And the FBI has granted Senator John Cornyn's request to help locate the Texas Democrats who broke quorum, though it remains unclear how the FBI would proceed. The Texas senator is seeking to punish Texas Democrats who fled the state in an attempt to stop the state legislature's passage of a newly redrawn congressional map that would give Republicans 5 more favorable districts ahead of the 2026 midterms. Those are your headlines from the Real America's Voice newsroom. I'm Bo Davidson. Now back to Charlie Kirk.
Stops here. The Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. Right now, over 7.5 million businesses in America are thriving on TikTok. We have gone super viral on TikTok. In fact, we have, some of these videos, just the last 24 hours. I mean, we have 5 million, 1.8 million, 2 million, 3 million, 1.1 million. Millions and millions of views an hour sometimes. Let me play one of my favorites. You guys have seen this one. It's just, this is the beauty of the campus interaction. Play cut 8.
Why don't you believe that white privilege exists? I just want to get your understanding first, and then we could go from there.
Well, is there anything that you can't do that I can do?
No, we could do the same things if we put our minds to it.
Good. Then there's no white privilege. Boom. TikTokeconomicimpact.com. Arizona Taco King in Arizona, able to employ over 28 people and pay them well, thanks to the foot traffic that TikTok brings in. So check it out right now at TikTokeconomicimpact.com. That is TikTokeconomicimpact.com, because when small businesses thrive, so do the communities around them. So learn more. We have gone viral. We helped win the youth vote largely thanks to TikTok. That is TikTokeconomicimpact.com. Email me, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. Joining us now is Wade Miller, Senior Advisor to the Center for Renewing America. We want to talk, Wade, welcome to the program. I want to talk to you about Texas eliminating these race-based districts and also possibly a census. But first, talk about your analysis of the redrawing of the maps in Texas, and let's go more broadly.
Sure. So, the plan is to get 5 additional seats. I think Abbott has recently threatened that they're going to go for an additional 3 if the Democrats won't return. I do think one of the undertold stories of all of this is that the Texas House Speaker, Dustin Burrows, had everyone in the chamber with the map out of committee already about 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, not last Wednesday, the Wednesday before, I believe. And he allowed them to adjourn to go meet with Hakeem Jeffries, knowing that they were going to leave. So they could have voted on it that night. The Austin establishment there allowed this to happen, allowed Democrats to leave. And now they're putting forward all of these various threats on, withholding pay. Of course, Dustin Burrows, the speaker, said that they're not going to electronically submit their pay for the special session, that they will have to come back and collect those in person. Well, why are they paying them anyways? They're not even doing simple things like taking away their parking spots, which they could do. They're not removing their chairmanships, which they could do. They've put forward arrest warrants, but they have not really been effectuated. There's some, thinking that that's moving forward. And of course, Governor Abbott has threatened to, render these seats vacant, but he's doing so through a court process instead of just unilaterally doing it. And our analysis is that Governor Abbott, it's empirically clear what's going on here. They're abandoning their seats. He should just declare them vacant, which would immediately establish quorum, and then they could vote on the maps and pass them. Absent that, if this gets drawn out, I think that the way that we need to handle Texas is that the DOJ and D.C., the Trump administration, sues Texas. Attorney General Ken Paxton in Texas can then enter into a consent decree with the DOJ, effectively affirming the maps. And so I think that the DOJ should have that in the back of their minds. If Governor Abbott is not going to be more aggressive on this, if they're just going to kind of punt this around and play games and then just hope that Democrats come back, well, we can't wait months. We need this to move forward. We need to start planning for the next midterm. Primary elections will be based off of these maps. So there's a lot riding on this, but there's a lot more that could be done to get this map through the finish line.
Yeah, look, so Texas is just one prong in a broader strategy. I did have to ask a quick follow-up, though. I love the people of Texas. I love Texas. We have a lot of Texans watching right now. But why is it that the Texas political leaders are so weak while posturing to be so tough? Where is that Texas tough attitude in the political leadership of Texas?
Well, I think a lot of these are holdovers from kind of the Bush era politics. And, there's an incentive for the Texas Republican speaker to be a centrist or left of center speaker because he can effectively be the speaker with 5 or 6 moderate Republicans supporting him and all the Democrats. Now, they didn't go that route, but that is the power base of the speaker. Anyone who wants to be speaker, all they have to do is say, Democrats vote for me, and I'll get 5 of my liberal Republican friends, and then all of the rest of the conservatives have no voice. And they all know this, so they all cave. And if they want to get their bills passed, they have to allow this. So there's just a broken process which allows Democrats to drive the leadership of the Texas House. And in terms of Greg Abbott, I think he's a nice guy, but if you assume that Greg Abbott is going to do the least amount possible while making it sound like he's doing everything possible, 99% of the time you'll be correct. He has very strong rhetoric, but the action on this is very weak. We saw this with Operation Lone Star, the weak use of the invasion declaration, which was in the first 2 iterations pointless, and then really did nothing at all. And of course, we saw very quickly with the Trump administration, the border just stopped. And there was a lot that, could Abbott have done that? No, but he could have done a lot more to make those numbers go down a lot more, and he just didn't do it. And that's it. I don't know why. I don't know if he wants to be careful, if he's always concerned about elections and moderates and how they'll vote, which you and I both know is always the way that the establishment operates. Mm-hmm. But it defies logic. I can't fully answer the question. I don't know why they do this, but this is kind of a holdover of an older version of Republicanism, which kind of harkens back to being moderate Democrats at best in many senses and kind of Bush-era politics.
So Wade, speaking more broadly now, the president, I just want to get a super quick answer. We have some time because I want to dive into this. The president has announced the other day that he is ordering a new census. Can he do this constitutionally? Can he say, I am doing a new census?
Well, this is a technical distinction. He can absolutely republish the prior census, and that would be the correct term is republish. I don't think he's actually calling for a whole new census process. He may be. If he is, yes, you can do that. You can call for a whole new census. There's something else called a mid-decade census. That's different. But yes, he could start the process of a whole new census. But I think what he's actually asking for is just republishing the last census with corrected data accounting for all of these various undercounts, overcounts, and we can get into the rest of it, but, fraudulent numbers that are in it.
So Blake, can you get the Minnesota example? I think Minnesota got an electoral vote based on 18 extra people. That one in particular is just nakedly fraudulent. But so the president put this out, and So are you saying that we're just going to learn that they just make up numbers? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So part of it is we can get into this, but differential privacy effectively scrambles the population data, and then through the actual counting, which the census admits they got massively wrong. The 2010 census was off by about 36,000 total nationwide. Texas alone was undercounted by 560,000.
What?
A whole bunch of other states were massively undercounted. A whole bunch of blue states were massively overcounted.
Was this because of COVID?
Well, they will say that. I think it's for a whole bunch of other reasons that these Obama bureaucrats at the census
At the Department
radically
of Commerce,
redid the process.
Right? That because the Department of Commerce runs it, right?
Now, the Census Bureau was moved under Commerce. But the same bureaucrats from the Obama administration and prior to that are still there running this. So I think the Trump administration is aware of this. If not, I hope that they're watching this. But they've got a big problem at the Census Bureau, and we can get into differential privacy.
No, we have a lot of
problems.
time. Keep going. We have 15 minutes. Keep going.
The way this is supposed to work is they count everything, and then they do all of these corrections and just checking the data to make sure that someone who lives in a household and an assisted living center isn't getting counted twice, or a college dorm in their home with their parents isn't getting counted twice. And then they have the raw data. That's called the Tiger file. The way this should work is they send this data that's accurate to the states. That does not occur. What they do is they run differential privacy, and this has an algorithm which no one has access to except for a few people at the Census Bureau that have a special clearance. And this scrambles the population data. Now, they will say it's for privacy, but really what's going on here is they're moving, and we don't know how much. There's been all of these open source studies on these algorithms. It's not the actual algorithm. They'll call it an open source, but it's not the actual algorithm. And even Harvard has said that this is likely resulting in population data that is being sent to the states that's resulting in unconstitutional outcomes for the purposes of redistricting and apportionment. So if you have state level data that's accurate down to the block level data, then you can make accurate political districts. You can make congressional districts that accurately count the citizens. But what differential privacy does is it moves the population around in an undetermined amount. It could be a 2% variance. It could be a 40% variance. We actually don't know. And the states don't know, and cities don't know, and counties don't know. And there's no process for them to actually know, because the census would say, if you think that our numbers are wrong, then in the past they've had a process where you can get it corrected. But now, because of differential privacy, they can't tell you if it's wrong, because that would alert them potentially to how the algorithm works, and they won't do that. So now you have, so this is really important. The Trump administration wants to count illegals, or figure out, ask the question of citizenship, so they can determine how many legal citizens or legal immigrants and how many illegal immigrants are in the United States. If you don't remove differential privacy, but you ask that question, you will get some utility out of it. But differential privacy can move those illegal aliens all over the state, so that when it comes time to drawing the maps, you can't actually get as much utility out of it. It's a big problem. It's a massive problem. And if you count illegals for the purposes of apportionment, that obviously has big impacts on the Electoral College. If you count illegals or the population of illegals for purposes of political districts, even if you don't want to because you just don't know where they're at, then that gives disproportionate amount of voting power to some citizens over other citizens. Because the cities, the big cities are where, and the suburbs of the big cities are where most of the illegal population lives. So what has happened as a result of the 2020 census is that voting power for Congress has been disproportionately moved to these cities, both through differential privacy and through counting illegal alien populations. And it's depriving rural communities of their electoral power in congressional districts and state house districts and state senate districts. So what does that mean? It means that red districts, rural districts, are way underrepresented in the current congressional maps. I think that there's a massive constitutional problem with the way that the census has been put out to the states for apportionment purposes and then for redistricting purposes. And I think that the Trump administration, Stephen Miller has been very loud about this. They have every legal right and power and every constitutional power to insist that the prior data be corrected, not for partisan gain, but because it just doesn't actually represent the
This is-
voting
this is
power of the
game-changing.
various states.
By the way, I think I have an idea. I want to keep you for another segment, Wade, which is what a great olive branch. Let's bring the Elon Doge team back into this. They're data guys. They understand this. I think we should have big balls. We should bring Elon. I think that we should say, and I'm happy to reach out to Elon and, hey, I know that there's been some, tense moments, but I think the whole Elon Brainiac crew there, they are meant for this, right?
Elon would crush this. He would.
Enough trying to
do a
figure
great
out
job.
if the Department of Labor is buying staples too expensively. We know that's happening, right? This is civilizational stuff, right? So I think Elon and the whole Doge team, this is a perfect overture. Bring in those super geniuses. Bring in that high Q squad. I mean, and Wade, let's talk about that. After the break, what a high IQ driven Doge squad, Navy SEAL operation team could do with this. That is a perfect project for the Doge brainiacs. Stay right there.
Amen.
Z-Factor. Z-Factor goes beyond melatonin. They use a combination of 4 natural ingredients to help you relax your mind so you fall asleep quicker. No groggy feeling when you wake up. Z-Factor was developed by Relief Factor, so you can count on the science behind it. Right now, pay $19.95 on a 30-day supply. It is a 46% savings. Go to relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. Better sleep without drugs. See how Z-Factor can give you the Z's you want. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That is 1-800-4RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. Email us, as always, freedom@charliekirk.com. If we're able to fix the census, the Democrats might not win the White House for a generation. Stay right there.